You should now be seeing the screen. And for those of you who are tuning in live or watching a recording of this webinar, thank you so much for your interest in the CHARIoT Challenge. Through this webinar, we will want to make sure you learn about how through your skills, through your passions, and your prototypes in augmented reality interfaces and emulated smart city data, you can win cash prizes, build your network, interact with the challenge and public safety partners, and see your end prototypes evaluated during a live event at the Public Safety Training Center, all while advancing communication technology for first responders. Through this webinar, all participants will be on mute, but don't fear, during the Q&A session at the end, please feel free to type in any messages at the chat box and we'll address those, in addition to questions you've been asking throughout this start during the chat session. You'll hear throughout this challenge from NIST PSCR and our challenge partners about why public safety needs your help advancing their user interfaces and access to Internet of Things, smart buildings, and smart city data streams, the 4 emergency scenarios that govern the CHARIoT Challenge, and about how each of the challenge partners and why they are partnering with NIST PSCR to launch this challenge. We'll end the webinar by reviewing how to register and submit your concepts on www.chariotchallenge.com, the upcoming deadlines, and also, as we mentioned, have time for questions and answers at the end. So who is NIST PSCR and why are we hosting the CHARIoT Challenge? The National Institute of Standards and Technology, through the Public Safety Communication Research Division, is one of the premier federal laboratories focused on researching and development communication technology for first responders. Our main goal is advancing and ensuring public safety community and first responders specifically can more effectively carry out their mission, protect the lives, properties during day-to-day operations, and understand and improve the unique communication challenges they experience during large-scale events and emergencies. So with that said, PSCR is driving advanced communication technology for public safety by accelerating the adoption, the implementation of the most critical communication capabilities. You'll soon hear from 3 PSCR colleagues that are seeking to accelerate the adoption of advanced user interfaces designed with and for public safety, and improving public safety's access to Internet of Things or IoT data so they can make informed, actionable decisions. We accomplish this in our mission through our internal researchers, funding external researchers through grants and cooperative agreements, and why we're all here today, of how we work with innovators and industry experts through our prize challenges like this CHARIoT Challenge. If you're interested to find out more information about PSCR, please visit at pscr.gov. But on the next slide, we'll share more about the overview of the CHARIoT Challenge. Scott Ledgerwood, would you mind sharing more about the CHARIoT Challenge?
Sure, thanks, Sarah. So this challenge is really focused on improving public safety response through the access of IoT information and through the accessing more usable interfaces. The challenge is actually split up into 2 contests, one focused on the augmented reality community, tasking them with creating heads-up displays and holograms for first responders and incident command, and the other targeting more the data scientists and researchers in the IoT space. Together, the contests add up to over 1.1 million in cash prizes and result with a really fantastic final event where we really get to test the prototypes under realistic settings. So the problem statements. On the augmented reality side of the house, with the introduction of the National Public Safety Broadband Network, public safety is going to be supplementing their traditional land mobile radio systems with broadband devices like mobile phones. These devices are going to offer them tremendous amounts of capabilities with access to things like data analytics and maps. However, the first set of devices the responders are going to be using will look very much like commercial devices you or I use today. They'll be Android or iOS devices that may be slightly ruggedized, but they'll be interacting with those devices to the same gestures, pinching, swiping, and tapping on app icons. This type of interface isn't really conducive when you're a firefighter wearing 50 pounds of personal protective equipment and wearing heavy gloves. So in this contest, we're really trying to develop applications and interfaces around the context of the first responders' use. And through that, the contestants will create visual aids that can display that actionable data to support a variety of tasks for each of the scenarios. With that, I'll hand over to Allison Kane from the IoT contest to talk a little bit about their problem statement.
Thanks so much, Scott. So for the IoT portion of the contest, which we are calling Emulate Smart City Data for Emergency Scenarios, we're looking at the fact that right now IoT devices exist in so many areas of our day-to-day life, but these data streams are not always available to people outside of the immediate use case, such as first responders. They do not have access to this information, which could provide critical situational awareness for them during disaster scenarios. And so we're looking to the IoT community, the data science community, to build solutions that can provide kind of an emulated scenario of these IoT devices and their data streams, both from smart buildings, from a personal area situation, or from smart cities vantage point. And these systems would allow our public safety community to utilize this additional information beyond what they just see and observe or what they receive from dispatch to create a more complete view of an emergency scenario and optimize their various tasks, such as resource deployment or any kind of incident command or boots on the ground scenarios, and allow them to make more well-informed and quicker life-saving decisions. And then on the next slide, we're going to go over the challenge objectives.
Great. So for augmented reality contest, as we mentioned a little bit in the problem statement, we're looking for contestants to develop visual aids that can provide actionable information to first responders and incident commanders. We're looking at those visual aids being presented in the form that's consumable by an augmented reality headset. And by donning that headset, the first responders will be able to leverage those different visual contents to perform a variety of tasks and navigate through a number of milestones that will be presented in the scenarios at the live event.
And then the IoT contestants, as I mentioned earlier, will be responsible for creating kind of a data environment for the first responder scenarios that we've provided. We want them to come up with at least 5 sensors per emergency scenario that would accurately depict some of the tasks that the first responders need to portray according to the parameters of the challenge. And then at the end of the event, the judges will select the best data per scenario. And by best, we mean the most relevant data, the most realistic data, and the data that accurately depicts the information needed to perform the tasks on the site. And that contestant will set up their final data transmitter at the live event. And then the live event is going to be the final phase of our contest, which is going to be an interactive test of these interfaces and the data. And these interfaces hopefully are going to utilize the data provided by the IoT contestants to execute these tasks. And this, like we said, will all be done live at a public safety training center. And the judging panel will actually utilize the AR interfaces as well as the data provided and attempt to complete these first responder tasks across the 4 simulated emergency scenarios. And then the next slide, we will kind of go over briefly the emergency scenarios themselves. And these are all detailed more extensively on the CHARIoT Challenge website, and they are all located on the right side of the screen. So these 4 scenarios were selected active shooter, flood, mass transit accident, and wildfire, because they often encompass a multifaceted response for law enforcement, fire service, and emergency medical services. And they could utilize both an incident command perspective and a boots on the ground first responder role. The website for each scenario gives a narrative which explains the parameters surrounding the event. All 4 events take place in the appropriately named Misfortuneville, USA, because you do not want to live there. And the overall use cases for the first responders, which will be given via a heads-up display in the augmented reality, and the incident commander, which will be utilized via a hologram interface, are listed along with the main tasks that should be executed for each incident commander and boots on the ground first responder. And all 4 of these pages are instrumental to guiding both the Build AR interfaces and the Emulate Smart City Data Contestant solutions. So we really need to view all of them. The Smart City Data Contestants should propose and build data transmitters that would provide IoT data that could be used by public safety to execute the tasks. AR contestants will be building interfaces that will be utilized by public safety in each of these 4 scenarios to execute the tasks. So these are vital to building and properly executing the challenge. And then next page. All right, and I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Don Harris to go over the 4 phases for the Emulate Smart City Data for Emergency Scenario contest.
Thanks, Allison. So each of our contests are divided into 4 phases. In the phase 1 of Emulate Smart City Data for Emergency Scenarios contest, this requires each contestant to submit their research involving their approach and methodologies. This can include how the data was acquired, hardware and the software involved, any network diagrams or transmission capabilities that will allow us to make an informed decision on how to select your particular solution. On May 15th, we'll choose 12 potential contestants, and they will be awarded $5,000, and they then advance to phase 2 of the contest. In phase 2, the selected contestants will provide a live video conference demonstration of their solution. This will include a demo of 2 of the 4 selected scenarios. This is the contestant's choice. They could choose any of them, any of the 4 select, or any of the 2 out of the 4. Judging for phase 2 will be based on pass-fail. Those contestants will be selected on June 24th, awarded $2,000 for more prototype development, as well as $4,000 in travel funds to attend the 2020 International Wireless Communication Expo. In phase 3, next slide, please. In phase 3 of the contest, as I mentioned, up to 12 contestants will be selected, and they will go to the IAWCE Expo on August 22nd. They'll submit a wireless network, and their data transmitters will be pre-configured for the emergency scenario, and they will be judged on site. And of those, 4 of them will be chosen for the best emergency scenario and will be invited to the next phase. Phase 3 includes a $7,500 award for the prototype development and an additional $5,000 awarded for travel fund to the final event. In the final event, on the final event, 4 contestants will attend the live competition. A few days before, they will set up their transmitters and ensure everything's working, everything's in compliance. and checking to make sure that this data is available to the AR contestants for the live phase of this. That will be November 2nd through 6th of this year. And for judging, there will be two winners. There will be a first place winner that will be $15,000 and a second place winner of $10,000. Each of those, there's an additional $2,000 that can be awarded to either one or both of those teams who choose to open source their particular solution. Next, I'll hand it back over to Scott to explain the augmented reality contest.
Thanks, Don. Great, so in the Build Augmented Reality Interfaces for Public Safety contest, we have a similar phase 1, where we'll be looking for concepts from the AR developer community, documenting how they can present actionable information based on that IoT data layer to the first responder community. In addition to that concept paper outlining their idea and capturing their skill set and team composition, we'll be looking for a video submission that showcases a prototype built using a platform like Unity, where the contestants can kind of showcase their current capabilities and skill set. Those concept papers will be due May 6th, and the judges will review submissions and select up to 30 contestants to move on to phase 2. Invited contestants will receive Magic Leap headsets for the duration of the competition. Heading into phase 2, contestants will have the opportunity to attend virtual training sessions with both Magic Leap and MSA Safety, where they'll receive valuable training on how to use the augmented reality headset devices and also receive insightful perspective on how to develop prototypes for the first responder community. In addition to the concept papers in phase 1, we'll be looking for public safety collaboration through the various contestants. We've seen in past competitions when contestants team up with first responder communities and receive that key feedback along the way in their development cycle, the resulting prototypes are significantly improved and much more conducive to the first responders' context of operation. If in phase 1, contestants do not have that public safety collaboration identified, in phase 2, we'll have opportunities for our co-sponsors to network with the contestants and hopefully identify successful collaborations with public safety entities. In phase 2, the contestants will also produce an enhanced version or new prototype based on the trainings that they have received and submit for judging on June 16th. Successful contestants in phase 2 will receive $7,500 for continued prototype development, $5,000 for public safety collaboration and travel funds, and $4,000 for attending an in-person training with Magic Leap. In phase 3, this is really where we look to the contestants to start developing those heads-up displays for the first responder boots on the ground and those holograms for the incident commanders that are providing that kind of 10,000-foot view of what's going on in that incident scenario. The contestants will have access to a data set based on an IoT data application that has produced sensor data mapped across the 4 different scenarios for both that public safety first responder view and incident commander view. And that IoT data layer is going to be driving key decisions and tasks for the responders. So using that data repository, the contestants will develop those 4 heads-up displays and 4 holograms for each of the given scenarios and submit those for judging on June 17th. I'm sorry, on September 15th. In addition, during phase 3, the contestants will have the opportunity to attend an in-person training with Magic Leap, which is currently scheduled for the week of August 17th, and a webinar with MSA Safety. For phase 3 evaluation, we'll be selecting up to 15 contestants to move on to the final phase. And in addition, we'll be awarding $5,000 for continued prototype development, $2,000 for public safety participation, $5,000 for travel to the final event site, and $5,000 in technical business assistance for each of the 15 contestants moving forward. And then in phase 4, for the final event, which will be taking place in the first week of November, we will be attending an event at a large-scale public safety training center where the 4 scenarios that Allison Kane discussed earlier will be instrumented. And with those given scenarios, we'll have a panel of judges and subject matter experts, including technology specialists, communication specialists, and active first responders, don the Magic Leap headsets and use the various prototypes that were developed by the contestant community in completing those various tasks and milestones. We'll be awarding cash prizes from $25,000 to $7,500 for first through 5th place. In addition, for each of the given scenarios and each of the different types of solutions, be it hologram for incident command or heads-up display for first responder, we'll be giving $2,500 per scenario. We'll also be giving out special awards for most creative method of interaction with the augmented reality headset, whether that's hand gesture, voice commands, or other type of interaction. A continued technical and commercial assistance of $10,000 to one entity, a best demonstration of the public safety use case, and Magic Leap headsets can be awarded up to 5 contestants.
Great, thank you so much. And as you heard in the briefings, we are joined here at NIST PSCR by so many great challenge partners that are really excited to advance communication technology for public safety and see and support your prototyping. So first we'll hear from our colleagues at First Responder Network Authority about their involvement and who they are in this challenge.
Great, thank you so much. Hello everyone out in the virtual world, and thanks for attending the webinar today. My name is Jennifer Harder, and I'm the Senior Director for Product at the First Responder Network Authority. So we are the governmental agency within the Department of Commerce that is responsible for fielding the nationwide public safety broadband network that hopefully you know of and have heard of as FirstNet. So I'll walk you through a little bit about who we are as an agency and how we're going to be here to support the challenge today. It looks like I can't advance the slide, so I'll ask you to do that for me. Oh, there it goes. Perfect. So just so everyone understands a little bit about who we are as the First Responder Network Authority, or the FirstNet Authority. We were born out of 9/11, really trying to come up with unifying communications technologies for public safety. And in that time, we've been able to go through all the 56 states and territories, come together to partner up with AT&T, our partner, and create the nationwide public safety broadband network that serves public safety entities across the country. Recently, we've put out our fiscal year 2019 through 2020 strategic plan, and it gives a good idea of who we are as an organization and what we're really trying to accomplish. Our strategic goal is about deploying, maintaining, and operating that network, but as a mission, we are a catalyst for advancing the nationwide public safety broadband network and making sure that it does exactly what public safety agencies and entities need it to do, that it serves their mission and serves their operations. Within that, our vision is to really create a dedicated and differentiated broadband communications experience that transforms public safety operations to save lives. And through that, really working to collaborate with our public safety partners to best understand their operational requirements, what we from a communications perspective can do to make what they do as first responders easier, better, safer, more efficient, more informed. Being able to put that information together in a way that they can leverage easily across the country without cumbersome technologies, older technologies, et cetera. So really working through that vision gives us an idea of where we're aligned to. It's all metrics based, and we can validate that over the next couple of years. And a lot of the things like this type of challenge help us with that. If you want to go to the next slide for me. Generally speaking, the way that we're working toward that vision, mission, and goal statement, it starts off in that top left corner, really engaging with public safety, and that can be at the first responder level individually with someone on the ground. It can be with entities or agencies. It can be up to associations. We have our Public Safety Advisory Committee made up of representation from across many associations in the country. We also work with industry and other government agencies to understand their trends, their drivers, what they need from the communications network to accomplish their operational goals. From there, we're able to develop and promote public safety broadband communications roadmaps that help really reflect the voice of public safety, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that soon. Mainly keeping us focused. It's a pretty large environment in a large world, and we want to make sure that we stay laser beam tight in on exactly what public safety needs in the order in which it needs it. As we begin to identify those requirements and zero in on the ones that are going to make the most impact right away, we can begin to invest some of the monies that we have coming back to us from our partner in the network to further that differentiated public safety experience on FirstNet, making sure that this network, which is dedicated to those public safety operators, does what they need it to do and enables them to the best extent possible. From there, we get to go back and collaborate with our public safety entities really to realize the operational benefit of that FirstNet experience. So as these technologies that all of you are working on and developing come into play in the network, this lets us really work with those agencies to see how that operation is transforming based on the addition of those technologies to their sphere and space. So it's been fantastic to work all the way through that circle with public safety entities and then start over again as we engage and work on the next cycle of technology coming down. Next slide for me. As part of that effort, we are currently focused on 6 different domains in our existing technology roadmap. And these 6 domains really guide our efforts, our thoughts, and our energies as we go forward and try to create that public safety differentiated experience on FirstNet. The first 2 on our left are pretty intuitive, the core of our network, and really the coverage and capacity in our network, making sure that the network is available where it needs to be for public safety operations, and then it performs the services and underlying features that are required for all the different ways that users will then experience that network going forward. On the right, you'll see our 4 more user-focused domains in terms of the way that users engage in that network and the areas that we are focused on. You'll see a lot of the challenge components reflected in these domains. We have situational awareness, voice communications, secured information exchange, and then that user experience tab there at the end, which really does give you a lot of connection to how we're able to operate these types of challenges and the technologies that come out of them on our network. For the next slide. So specifically on that user experience domain, really what our vision here is to make sure we envision a user experience that's driven by public safety operational needs that allows users to stay focused on their primary mission. So you heard Scott and others mention throughout the explanation of the challenge, the idea of giving that first responder real-time information that is helpful, useful, timely, and non-interruptive. Those types of things allow them to get the information and digest it in a good way without stopping their operational need, without taking their hands off of the fire hose or other types of applications that they're doing. Those types of heads-up and augmented displays are going to be very powerful for public safety as we work to get information to them more than just through auditory input. So looking at augmented and virtual reality, looking at IoT, heads-up displays and other hands-free operations are really critically important to us at the FirstNet Authority for our user experience domain in our roadmap. Next slide. Finally, none of this is possible without the public safety partnership or the public-private partnership that we have with our partners at FirstNet with AT&T. You'll see that we really are 2 sides of a very complex coin. We're the governmental authority part of it, so we are a federal government agency that provides partner oversight, public safety advocacy, technical expertise, and innovation strategy and investment. But the other half of that coin is our partner. AT&T is responsible for the nationwide core. They build out the RAN. They really do focus heavily on adoption and customer care, making sure that the services are available to public safety and that public safety gets all of the technologies that they need to do their operations. So I want to give a little time to our partner here, and I'd like to turn over the presentation to Suzette McLeod with AT&T FirstNet.
Great, thank you very much. And a big thanks to PSCR, who has long served as an incubator for what the future of public safety can look like. And on behalf of AT&T, I want to extend a deep appreciation to the First Responder Network Authority. Our unique private and public partnership is giving responders the reliable connections they need and deserve. We're honored to be working together to make first responders safer and more effective. Dr. Hari did a great job of introducing you to FirstNet, the nation's only official platform for public safety. FirstNet's not a commercial network. In fact, it's not just a network. First responders have priority access to a completely dedicated platform. So when you and I are fighting for bandwidth during network congestion or a big event, first responders and those that they uplift to support them are always connected. A network build out is based on responder needs, where the coverage is needed. And with specialized with specialized devices, it's really based on their needs as well. They're often encountering extreme conditions. Well, you guys, I'm having a little trouble advancing the slides. There we go. Security and data protection, which is critical to public safety, both for their safety as well as the protection of our data. It's an encrypted, end-to-end encrypted network. It involves, or FirstNet provides, around-the-clock monitoring. FirstNet even comes with the training lesson plans and apps, so responders can learn how not to fall prey to cyber hackers. Last, an app ecosystem. With reliable, highly secure access to voice, data, and video in the field, first responders can now use apps as true digital tools, like most of us do today. So, I thanked PSR and I thanked the authority when I was introduced, but I want to just take a moment to thank you. As you devote your time and your skills to this challenge, I want you to know that you are truly a catalyst to introducing new ways responders can use technology. Your work will make a significant difference, a meaningful difference, making responder jobs easier, safer, and more effective. So as you conjure up your new innovations, take a little time to understand the landscape. Do your research, and the FirstNet assets can help you do that. Take a look at firstnet.com. And on firstnet.com, you will find an app catalog. It lists all of the apps that are there, and it gives you a sense of what is already there in terms of tools and where the gaps may be. On that same catalog, you'll find links to data sheets as well as app provider websites. So you can get a sense of how they're demonstrating the needs of the first responder community and the values that their particular solutions are offering that community. Just gives you a better sense of what the environment looks like. On firstnet.com, you'll also find some general use cases. Go into why FirstNet and take a look. It's many of the reasons why FirstNet will need to exist is exactly why your solutions will need to exist. Take a look at the FirstNet developer portal at firstnet.com/developer. There you'll find tools that are targeted to app providers and solution providers who are feeding the app ecosystem. You'll find the API catalog. It'll give you a sense of what interoperability could need in the FirstNet environment and give you some tools potentially to make sure you're optimizing your code, or to look at maybe opportunities to interface with mapping tools like Esme and the like. And last, you'll get a sense of the submission process, which might help you make sure that your systems and your solutions are indeed secure. So I'm going to hang out for a bit in case you have any questions, but thank you very much for joining this challenge. I can't wait to see your solutions.
Hello, my name is Bill Gelman. I'm the COO of Blue Force Development Corporation, and I think that someone's going to be showing me the screen here. Excellent, very good. I hope you can see this. Just want to say thank you to PSCR and NIST for having us as a partner in this challenge. We're very excited. We believe that the IoT has a very powerful role to play in enabling our first responders and public safety going forward. And a lot of that has been enabled by improvements in the network, as you've just heard from FirstNet, the government, FirstNet government, and then also AT&T, the commercial partner. And that network has really opened up tremendous opportunities to provide efficiencies and to create enhanced situational awareness for first responders, and that's really where we're focused. We do a lot with situational awareness at sort of the application layer, and also at bringing in rapidly very diverse sensor data into a common operating picture and into a unified platform for first responders to then use and to make better tactical decisions faster. On the lower left here, you'll see the this application, Blue Force Tactical. That's one of our software applications, and this runs on a FirstNet mobile device. And we use this to bring in lots of body-worn sensor data. And so you can think of it as sort of a mobile IoT gateway in that regard. And on the upper right, and we'll speak about this for a bit, we also bring in those things that are not associated with the human, things such as drones, things such as smart cities, equipment. We can integrate with machine learning and a lot of analytics platforms, and also this blanket IoT. So rather than discuss this, I think we can show a vision for how situational awareness works for first responders. Here's a view of our Blue Force Command. This is a common operating picture in use by first responders, and you can see one of the very basic areas of situational awareness: where are my people? So there's a map view there, and that's IoT data in and of itself, location data. But then as we expand that out, obviously there's video, which is a piece of situational awareness. But if you look over here on the right, this is sensor data. So this is an air pack, how much air is left in the tank. This one in the middle here, this is another of the partners over here for, this is an MSA Altair 5X multi-gas sensor. And this is actually down here, this is actually the internal core body temperature of a dog. So you can see that the IoT is in use and it's growing. And I think that all the projects that you're going to be working on to get that IoT data is potentially going to open the doors for first responders and help build the ecosystem to get all of these different diverse types of IoT information that can be used to make those tactical decisions by first responders. And I think the work that you're doing in the IoT community in general is going to make a very large difference for public safety in this country and for all of our safety as the citizens for whom the first responders are working so hard to protect. So I'll turn it over. Thank you very much.
Hey, hi everyone. I'm Greg Rinaldi. I lead our global developer relations team at Magic Leap, and we support all of our third-party developers in our ecosystem. So I wanted to thank everyone for joining today, and obviously thank NIST and PSCR for inviting us to join as a sponsor for this competition. And really excited to share with you more about Magic Leap and how we're supporting the CHARIoT Challenge. So that's me. So as I said, I lead our developer relations team here at Magic Leap. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Magic Leap. So we are a tech company. We were founded in Florida in 2011. And we're a relatively large startup, I would say, with around 1,600 employees at 15 sites globally. And we're obviously not going this alone. We have significant investment and deep partnerships with companies like Google, Alibaba, Qualcomm, AT&T, and others. And I also want to mention, aside from the incredible technology that I'll speak a little bit about today and the vision of the company, what really attracted me to Magic Leap is our rockstar mix of employees. So everything from technologists to artists and designers and visionaries with backgrounds from surgical robotics, NASA, optical engineering, the games industry, the film industry. It's a really diverse mix at Magic Leap, and I think that diversity really helps us to maintain the vision of the company, which is really hyper-focused on building technology that complements the human experience and really serves the human factor. So our mission is sort of summed up this way. We really want to focus on merging the physical and digital worlds to amplify human ability. That mission really drives our technological innovation. It drives all of our product decisions. And part of that vision, I think, in respect to computing, is how do we free everyone from screens, right? We live in a 3D world, but we consume most of our information through two-dimensional screens, whether on our phones or our laptops or TVs. digital information is generally presented to us through these rectangles. But we live in a three-dimensional world, and for first responders, situational awareness of the environment is critical. So these types of technologies really help to merge that information with with the situation that they find themselves in. And so our ambition is really to free that information from screens and allow people to remain present in the physical world. And so I'll talk a little bit about XR technologies. So you've probably heard about VR and AR. We actually consider Magic Leap to be really living in this spatial computing world, and I'll talk a little bit about what that means. So when we think about virtual reality, we think about creating a sort of all-consuming digital environment that replaces the physical world. For first responders, this is really helpful for certain training scenarios or public education, because you can do it anywhere, and you don't have to necessarily put people in harm's way. But it does isolate you from the physical world, sort of by design. And when we think about augmented reality, most of the augmented reality I think that we're seeing today is really through the mobile phone. So it's able to place digital content on top of a view of the physical world. But there are limitations to that. You have to hold your phone up. It's still two-dimensional. You don't have that spatial relationship with the physical world that you do through spatial computing. And with spatial computing, it's really about the interactions of the physical world with the digital. And for first responders, obviously, that provides a wide possibility space. Everything from incident commanders to on-site response. When you pair that ability to integrate 3D spatial data with the data streams that we're talking about, IoT data and cloud data, you really create almost a superhero-like situational awareness for first responders. When we think about that, just looking at a bit of a visualization of all of the data streams and all of the systems that are required to really deliver that type of powerful interfaces, we think about it in terms of a system of systems, right? So if you think about, and I think what's particularly interesting about the CHARIoT Challenge is that it's marrying IoT technology and spatial computing together. And so we see a future where the most powerful use cases for spatial computing are powered by this interconnected system of systems, right? So we visualize these as layers on top of the physical world, starting with a digital twin of the physical world. So you have to recreate the physical world through technologies like SLAM or LiDAR or GIS, other 3D data sources. And once you have that digital replica of spatial relationships in the real world, and you pair that with high-speed edge computing networks like with the FirstNet and AT&T teams are building, then you have a powerful base platform to build on top of, and you can create a multitude of applications for everything from transportation to commerce to healthcare, and obviously to our first responders who are out in the field. So I'll talk a little bit about the Magic Leap 1. So as Scott mentioned, any contestants who are selected to compete in the augmented reality portion of the challenge will have access to a Magic Leap 1, and this is our first product. We went to great lengths with the Magic Leap to create a device that's powerful, yet also comfortable to wear, and I think that's an important point. We divorced the computing power and the battery from the headset because we wanted a headset that was light, comfortable to wear. Our headset's actually lighter than a pair of headphones. So for comparison, the Magic Leap 1 headset, which we call the Lightwear, weighs 316 grams, and a Beats Pro headphone set weighs 400 grams. So so it's rather light, and it's powerful, in terms of what it's able to accomplish visually, because the Light Pack, which is our computer, really houses what we consider to be AAA quality computing components. So you can have really high fidelity visuals powered to the headset. We also included a controller, and this is a really big differentiator for Magic Leap. We're the only professional grade AR headset with a 6 degree of freedom controller, and it really sort of acts as your second hand. So it gives you full control, yaw, pitch, and dexterity to place in objects and navigate through menus. So it creates really intuitive interface, to interact with that three-dimensional spatial content. But we didn't stop with the controller, so we have a multitude of input modalities, and obviously a lot of times with first responders in the field, they need to have their hands free. So the controller is there, but you don't need to use the controller. And actually, we support a multitude of input methods. So everything from your head pose, so the position, rotation, and orientation of the user's head. We also support eye tracking, hand tracking and gesture recognition, voice input, and we also include Bluetooth support. So if you want to, include other peripherals, input devices for the user, the device will, so the Magic Leap will support that. And some of the most intuitive use cases that we've seen, frankly, are when developers leverage more than one input mechanism together. It really creates a more intuitive interface. So, for example, if you couple eye tracking to hand tracking and gesture recognition, it almost becomes second nature to interact with some of the interfaces in 3D space, because frankly, that's how we interact with the world. We don't think about it, we just interact. And so we think we have a very robust tool set there for interaction in terms of building those interfaces. And I just want to wrap up with giving a little bit more insight into how we're supporting the challenge. So as I mentioned, we're thrilled to be partnered with NIST and PSCR and the rest of our co-sponsors, and we really feel like this is a great opportunity to advance the field here and look to a future where we can empower our first responders, to be safer, out in the field and more efficient in what they're doing. So the way that we're supporting the challenge, and Scott mentioned this in his section, will be loaning devices to every contestant who gets selected for the AR portion of the challenge, and you'll have access to those devices throughout the length of your participation in the challenge. We'll also be hosting a series of workshops, and these will be online workshops, but we'll also be doing a in-person, event where we can get some hands-on, time with the contestants. And then in addition to that, we'll have ongoing developer support. So as you're building your prototypes, if you have questions, we'll have a private forum online where we can answer those questions directly. And we'll also be providing some office hours, direct consultation with contestants throughout the length of their competition. So really want to do whatever we can to support you in your efforts in building your prototypes. And as I said, very happy to be here and excited to see the prototypes that come out of this competition. So with that, I'll hand off to Matthew Quigley from MSAC.
Thanks, Greg. My name's Matt Quigley from MSA Safety, and first of all, I just want to say thank you to PSCR for inviting us to present today and for the upcoming participation for the future months on the CHARIoT Challenge. I think I lost the screen for a second. Would someone be able to advance the slide for me, please? Thank you very much. I'm a product group manager for our fire service technology and connectivity group, primarily focused on our fire service products and PPE that integrate electronics and technology into our existing products, as well as our cloud software products that I'll be able to talk to in a little bit. I believe Marco Tecklenburg is also on the phone. I want to give him the opportunity to introduce himself, as well as he'll be a part of the team representing MSA in this challenge as well.
All right. Hello, everyone. As Matt indicated, my name is Marco Tecklenburg. I am the Chief Engineer for MSA Safety's Respiratory Protection and Fire Helmet groups. And in my role, I lead and support our product and technology strategy, road mapping, research and development activities. And as Matt will go into later, that portfolio of products and services includes breathing apparatus, helmets, protective clothing, and personal protection electronics. So I'll hand it back to Matt, and certainly look forward to the opportunity to collaborate with you all.
Perfect. Thank you, Marco. Can you go to the next slide, please? So just a quick overview of MSA. MSA is a manufacturer of safety products. We were founded in 1914. We are headquartered in Cranberry Township, Pennsylvania, which is about 20 minutes north of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with about 4,800 employees globally and about a revenue of 1.4 billion in sales last year. And our mission primarily is around providing men and women safety throughout the world. So we really do focus on just primarily manufacturing safety products for a wide variety of markets. As Marco and I have indicated, we're primarily focused on the fire service aspect of our business, but we also serve the global gas detection market as well as the industrial PPE market with 6 core product groups. Focus across portable gas detection, fixed gas and flame detection, fall protection, industrial head protection, and what Marco and I both focus on is our breathing apparatus business, as well as the firefighter helmets and protective apparel. Our product group primarily focuses around products for firefighters. In 2014, we launched a breathing apparatus known as the MSA G1, which is probably the bulk of our products within our portfolio. In 2017, MSA had also acquired a turnout gear manufacturer, Globe, which also rounds out our product protective gear that we offer for firefighters. But what we primarily focus on within our technology portfolio is looking at future technologies that could be integrated within existing PPE that firefighters are using today. And what drew us to this partnership with NIST and PSCR was really around our future roadmap that Marco had indicated from our technology steering team, and seeing how that aligned very closely with where NIST and PSCR was driving their current portfolio. We had previously participated in a haptic interface challenge last year that went extremely well. We really enjoyed the opportunity to interact with the participants and provide some at least experience or some guidance with regards to our experience with integrating technology into existing protective equipment. And we're looking to do the exact same thing with this upcoming challenge. We are planning on offering 2 webinars throughout the course of the challenge, focusing on just experience or really focusing on the lessons learned from integrating existing technology into equipment for firefighters and first responders, and then also offering offline question and answers for anybody that may have any input or will be looking for input from us with regards to our experience in the industry. But we're very excited for the opportunity to work with this group and excited to see where things go from here from the output from this challenge. Thank you.
Thank you again to all of our challenge partners. And as you can see, so many entities and organizations are really excited and ready and looking forward to seeing your concepts. So we wanted to quickly review the contestant eligibility. As always, this information is found on the CHARiotChallenge.com, but recommend please check out the official rules that you can download on a link on the challenge.gov post and on CHARiotChallenge.com. So individuals and teams or businesses are able to participate. There's kind of categories on the official rules to make sure that you are eligible based on if you're an individual, a team, or a business. Foreign citizens may participate in the CHARiot Challenge, but they need to participate with an official representative that is a U.S. entity or a team member. And all information and prize challenges will be communicated through that official representatives. Individuals such as SBIR recipients or current PSCR grantees are eligible to participate in the challenge, but again, be sure to look at your funding documents, as most funding documents share that you cannot utilize their funding to compete in other events such as this challenge. If you have additional questions about contestant eligibility, please feel free to ask those in the chat box. Don't forget that you need to register on CHARIoTchallenge.com/register. So go ahead and register today. This is kind of a snapshot of your screen that reminds you that you are only able to register for either the Emulate Smart City Data contest or the Build Augmented Reality Interfaces contest. So if you have technical difficulties, there's information there. But as always, if you have questions, please feel free to put those in the chat box. We're still seeking first responder collaborations, and so first responders that are seeking to be matched with an AR developer team, please feel free to email psprizes@nist.gov. So how do you enter? So now that you're excited about the Build Augmented Reality Interfaces for Public Safety Contest and the Emulate Smart City Data for Emergency Scenario Contest, there are different submission requirements. However, both are now due on May 6th at 2020, so upcoming May 6th, and you submit this information through the CHARIoTchallenge.com website. So on the AR interfaces, please be sure to submit a cover page, a project description, information about your key team members, information about your public safety collaboration or your willingness to collaborate, a concept sketch, and a mock-up video of your AR past interfaces or a sample prototype you created just for this challenge. The Emulate Smart City Data contestants should submit a cover page and abstract, a project description, and information about your key team members. And again, please submit by May 6th on the CHARIoTchallenge.com. We'll now take this time for questions and answers. Thank you so much again for your interest. We've received a few questions about the recordings. The recording will be made available both on the CHARIoTchallenge.com website, the PSCR website, and a link on the challenge.gov post. And at this time, we'll take questions. For those, since we have run over time, if we aren't able to answer them live during this webinar, we will also send kind of an email transcript of all the questions we received today to those who attended the webinar. Thank you again, and more information and frequently asked questions will also be posted on CHARIoTchallenge.com. We're so excited about your enthusiasm for the CHARIoT Challenge and look forward to seeing your prototypes and concept papers submitted soon. Great. One of the first questions that we've received, will PSCR provide a simulated data? And so yes, there will be simulated challenge provided data that will be posted on the challenge website of CHARIoTchallenge.com. And that information will be posted after phase 1 to ensure IoT contestants have a fresh start of their ideas and concept papers. And we'll also be arranging times at the beginning of phase 3 and 4, where the IoT contestants and the selected augmented reality contestants will interact together and learn about the data that's provided by the final IoT contestants. That information is available in the official rules, so you can look at that and the timelines now. Let me see, next question that we have is a question for either Scott Ledgerwood or Greg in regards to the holograms for incident commands or heads-up displays for first responders, and if you could clarify a little bit more information about kind of the proposed different interfaces for incident command and for first responders. So Scott or Greg?
Sure, this is Scott Ledgerwood. How about I start, and then Greg, if you'd like to add anything, I'll let you chime in. So for the augmented reality contest, we are looking for the contestants to create separate heads-up display augmented reality solutions that could be used by first responders that'll be going through and completing these various tasks. So one of the scenarios was like a mass transit incident, for example. And in that task, you might need to identify the location of a victim, perform some sort of triage, or identify potential hazardous materials in that space. So we'd be looking for solutions that would be taking action on the IoT data layer that is providing information about that hazardous material or the vitals of that patient, and then presenting that information to that first responder through that heads-up display. Now, similarly, for the incident command, we're going to present them with the same type of scenario, but instead of being in the environment right there with the patient or right there next to the hazard, they're going to be slightly set back, but having this kind of 10,000-foot view of the scenario and be required to take similar actions, but on various different taskings and milestones. And the way they're going to take action on the IoT data layer and make those decisions is through the view of a hologram. So picture this kind of 3D object floating out in space in front of them, where they're going to get kind of a larger depiction of the incident at large.
Yeah, Scott, I think you covered it. The only thing I would add is that what we find is very compelling on the visualization side is providing that situational awareness and spatial relationships. So the Magic Leap is really well suited to that. So it's one thing to have sort of a floating 2D display, but I think the best solutions really consider all of the data and all of the spatial relationships and the situational circumstances that need to be displayed to the first responders in the situation they're in.
Great point. Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Scott and Greg. We have, and again, we are receiving kind of several other questions, so great questions coming in. Please feel free to keep typing those. We will be unable to answer all of them kind of on the live platform, but we'll reply through email and also kind of share a Q&A of all the great questions on the CHARIoT Challenge frequently asked questions section page. So one question for the IoT team of Allison and Don. Could you please describe more information about and kind of the motivation for phase 3 and 4, having the contestants propose hardware that can operate with a system compatible with a Raspberry Pi 4 Linux-based operating system?
Okay, I see Don's on mute, so I'll try and handle this. Or Don, do you want to handle that?
Yeah, I think the main motivation behind the hardware itself is portability. As far as like the Raspberry Pi 4 or any of the Raspberry Pi Arduino, not just portability, but something that would be kind of IoT based. Traditionally, you could connect sensors to those devices to be able to send that out. And that's probably up to the discretion of the contestant if they wanted to do that. But we really encourage, emulation in general. It's really just the portability factor that we're looking at, because when you bring the device to IWCE or the final event, of course, that device is going to be really just kind of set up. You're going to monitor it, and really it's kind of got to be a hands-off thing. I mean, you can go into it and make sure it's doing what it's doing or start it up, but that's really kind of the big motivation behind using that particular hardware.
And one more thing, as evidenced by the open source component in the final, we want to make the hardware and the solutions accessible to developers in the future that might want to utilize these excellent data streams for kind of motivation in their first responder solutions. So we would like to see these emulators become kind of useful for research or development in the future as we move towards a more integrated IoT kind of environment, but we're not really there yet. So the Raspberry Pi would be accessible to anyone who might want to utilize any open source solutions that were out there.
Allison Dunn. We had a question in regards to contestants' intellectual property. And so with the CHARIoT challenge, all intellectual property will rest with the contestants and have, as you heard from Scott during the challenge timeframe and our challenge partners, that there are opportunities for contestants to continue to advance their networks and interact with challenge partners and receive business and technical assistance to continue to advance their prototype. And so again, all intellectual property will rest with the contestants and not with NIST PSCR or the challenge partners. So just wanted to clarify that information. So we will remain a few moments here for any additional questions that we can answer we will answer remotely. And again, thank you so much for all of our challenge partners and all the individuals attending both live and watching as a future recording. Be sure to submit your concept papers by May 6th on chariotchallenge.com. And thank you so much for your energy and enthusiasm.